My name is Anna. I am 24 years old. And this is the hardest story of my life. When I close my eyes, I can still hear his voice. Soft, cold, dangerous. He said to me, "You belong to me now." My hands shook when he said it. My heart raced. I wanted to scream, but my lips stayed shut. Let me start from the beginning. I grew up in a small town. My father drove a taxi. My mother worked in a bakery. We were poor, but we were proud. My parents always said, "Work hard, Anna. Be honest. The world will reward you." So I studied hard. I dreamed of a better life. I wanted to move to the city, to get a good job, to help my family. When I finally got an offer, my parents cried with joy. It was at a big company in the city. Good pay, good office, a chance to change everything. The boss's name was Mr. Carter. Everyone said he was powerful. He wore expensive suits. He drove shiny black cars. And he smiled like he already owned the whole world. At first, he seemed kind. He welcomed me. He said, "Anna, I see potential in you. You can go far if you stay close to me." His words felt warm, like sunshine. But later, I learned they were fire. Fire that could burn me alive. On my first day, I was nervous. The office was big. Glass walls. Silver elevators. Everyone walked fast, wearing high heels and polished shoes. I sat at my desk, trying to hide my shaking hands. Then Mr. Carter walked in. He looked straight at me. His eyes were sharp, like knives. I felt small under his gaze. "Anna," he said, calling me by name though we had just met. "Come to my office." My heart jumped. Was I in trouble already? I followed him. His office was huge. A leather chair. A big desk. Tall windows with a view of the whole city. It felt like standing inside a palace. He sat down and smiled. "Tell me, Anna, why did you come here?" I swallowed. I want to work, to grow, to support my family." He nodded. "Good answer. Family is important. I respect that." I felt a little better. Maybe he was strict, but fair. But then his smile changed. It grew slower, darker, like a shadow spreading across the room. He leaned closer and whispered, "You will rise fast here, but only if you stay close to me." I froze. What did he mean? Was it just advice? Or something else? I forced a smile and said, "Thank you, sir. I'll work hard." He laughed softly. "Oh, I know you will." That night, I couldn't sleep. His words repeated in my head. Stay close to me. What did he want? Why did he look at me that way? I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe I was nervous. Maybe all bosses were like this. But the next day, it happened again. I was working at my desk when Mr. Carter came. He placed his hand on my chair. Too close. Too personal. "Anna," he said, "you're special. I can see it. Don't forget who gave you this chance." His breath touched my ear. I shivered. I wanted to move away, but I stayed frozen. My co-workers looked at us. Some whispered. Some looked away. Nobody helped. Days passed. His attention grew stronger. He called me into his office more often. Sometimes to talk about work. Sometimes to talk about nothing. He asked about my family. About my dreams. About my heart. And one day he said it. Words that made my blood turn cold. "You belong to me now." I stared at him. "What do you mean, sir?" He smiled. You'll understand. I take care of my people. But my people take care of me too. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream, but my voice broke into silence. At that moment, I knew something was wrong. This job was not just about work. This boss did not just want an employee. He wanted more. He wanted control. He wanted me. And I was trapped. Because my family needed money. Because I had nowhere else to go. I sat in my small rented room that night. Rain tapped against the window. My phone buzzed with a message from him. It read, "Come to dinner tomorrow. Alone." My hands shook as I held the phone. My heart pounded like a drum. What should I do? If I said no, I could lose everything. If I said yes, I could lose myself. I stared at the screen. Tears filled my eyes. And then, I pressed reply. I stared at the message on my phone. Dinner. Alone. My fingers trembled. I didn't reply right away. I closed my eyes and thought of home. My parents. My little brother. The old house with cracked walls and broken doors. I remembered my mother's tired face. Her hands smelled of bread from the bakery. I remembered my father's coughing from long nights driving his taxi. And my brother, still in school, dreaming of becoming a doctor. They depended on me. My paycheck was not only mine. It was food. It was medicine. It was hope. I whispered to myself, I can't lose this job. And so, with shaking hands, I typed one word back. Okay. The next evening, I dressed carefully. A simple black dress. Nothing fancy. I didn't want to look like I was trying. When I reached the restaurant, my stomach was tight with fear. It was a luxury place. Crystal lights. Soft music. Men in suits, women in shining gowns. Mr. Carter was already there. He stood when he saw me. His smile spread wide. Anna, he said, you look beautiful. I forced a smile. Thank you, sir. He guided me to the table. Expensive food. Wine I couldn't pronounce. He spoke softly, but his words were heavy. You're special, he repeated. You're not like the others. I see fire in you. Loyalty. Ambition. And I want to keep that fire close. I swallowed hard. Sir, I just want to work. To do my job well. He leaned closer. Of course. But remember, Anna, this company is mine. And if you want to rise, you must be mine too. His voice was calm, but it felt like a chain around my neck. I sat frozen. I wanted to leave, but my legs would not move. That night, when I finally went home, I cried until my pillow was wet. The next day, I called my best friend, Lily. We had grown up together in the same small town. She worked as a nurse now, far away from the city. Lily, I whispered through the phone, I don't know what to do. What happened, Anna? Tell me. My boss. He wants more than just work. He wants to control me. I feel trapped. There was silence. Then Lily's voice came, worried but firm. Quit. Leave that place. Your dignity is worth more than money. I laughed bitterly. Leave? Lily, my family needs me. My brother needs school fees. My parents are waiting for help. If I quit, who will save them? She sighed. I understand. But Anna, be careful. Power like his is dangerous. Promise me you won't let him break you. I wiped my tears. I promise. But deep down, I wasn't sure. At work, things grew stranger. Sometimes Mr. Carter was kind. He praised my work. He said, Anna, you're the smartest one here. You have a future. Other times, his eyes turned cold. He said things like, "Don't forget who gave you this chance," or "You owe me." It was like living with two faces of the same man. One side generous, one side hungry. My co-workers noticed too. One woman, Sarah, whispered to me near the coffee machine, "Be careful, Anna. He likes to play with new girls. You're not the first." Her words cut deep. Not the first. How many before me? I asked. What happened to them? Sarah looked away. Some left. Some stayed and lost themselves. Her eyes filled with something like pity. Then she walked away, leaving me shaking. That night, I sat in my room again. The city lights blinked outside my window. Cars rushed by. But inside, my heart was still. Cold. I thought of my parents. I thought of Lily's warning. And I thought of Sarah's eyes when she said, "Some stayed and lost themselves." Was I already losing myself? I didn't know. But I did know one thing. Mr. Carter was not finished. He would push harder. And I was not ready for what was coming. The following week, he tested me. He called me into his office late one evening. Everyone else had gone home. The halls were silent. Only the sound of the clock ticked in the empty office. "Sit," he said. I sat. My palms were sweaty. My heart raced. He stood near the window, looking at the dark city. Then he turned to me and said, "Anna, do you trust me?" I didn't answer. I lowered my eyes. He walked closer. "I can make your dreams come true. Promotions, money, power, everything you want, but only if you are mine." His words dropped like stones into my chest. Heavy, crushing. I whispered, "Sir, I don't know what you mean." He smiled, slow and sharp. "You know exactly what I mean." I left his office that night with my knees weak. I walked through the dark streets, my mind spinning. Was this my life now? Was I his possession? I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But my family's faces held me back. And then something happened. Something that made everything worse. The next morning, my boss called me into his office again. But this time, he wasn't alone. A tall man in a gray suit stood there. A stranger. His eyes followed me as I walked in. "Anna," Mr. Carter said, his voice smooth. "This is Mr. James. He is one of our business partners. I told him about you." I froze. Why would he talk about me to a partner? Mr. Carter's smile widened. "Tonight, you will join us for dinner. Both of us. Understand?" My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. Another dinner? With a stranger? Why? I wanted to shout no. But the word never came. Instead, I nodded weakly. And inside, I felt a storm rising. The night of the second dinner came too quickly. I could hardly breathe as I dressed. My black dress felt heavy on my skin. Every step toward the restaurant felt like walking into a storm. When I arrived, Mr. Carter was already waiting. The stranger, Mr. James, sat beside him. His eyes scanned me, slow and cold. I felt like an object on display. "Anna," Mr. Carter said warmly, "sit with us." I forced a smile and sat. My hands shook under the table. The waiter brought wine. The men laughed about business deals and money. But every few minutes, Mr. James's eyes returned to me. And every time, Mr. Carter smiled as if proud to show me off. Finally, Mr. James leaned forward. "So this is the girl you spoke of." My heart stopped. What did he mean? What had Mr. Carter told him about me? "Yes," Mr. Carter replied. "She's loyal. She knows her place." His words sliced through me. Knows her place? What place? His possession? His toy? Mr. James smirked. She's pretty. I see why you like her. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to run far away. But I stayed frozen, trapped in my chair. After dinner, Mr. Carter insisted on driving me home. I sat in the back of his black car. The city lights blurred outside the window as tears filled my eyes. He leaned closer and whispered, "See? Important people respect me. And now they see you too. You should feel proud." I turned to him, my voice trembling. "Sir, please. I don't want this. I only came here to work. Not this." His face hardened. His smile vanished. He spoke slowly, like a knife cutting each word. "Anna, you don't understand. You belong to me. If you fight me, you will lose. If you obey me, you will win. Choose carefully." I pressed my lips together, holding back a sob. I said nothing. When the car stopped, I ran inside my apartment and collapsed on the floor. My chest hurt. My hands shook. I cried until dawn. The next day at work, whispers followed me. Co-workers glanced at me, then looked away. Some pitied me. Some envied me. Some judged me. I overheard two women near the copier. "She's his new favorite," one said. "Lucky her," the other whispered back, but her tone was bitter. "Lucky." I wanted to scream at them. This was not luck. This was prison. I tried to talk to Sarah again. "Sarah," I whispered, "what do I do?" "He won't stop. He says I belong to him." Her eyes filled with sadness. She touched my hand softly. "Anna, I told you. He's done this before. Some girls stayed. Some left broken. He doesn't stop until he gets what he wants." I swallowed hard. "But if I quit my family?" Sarah shook her head. "Listen. Your soul is worth more than money. Don't sell it to him. One day, you'll look in the mirror and not recognize yourself." Her words echoed in my heart, but so did my mother's tired voice on the phone that evening. "Anna," she said happily, "thank you for sending money. It helped with your father's medicine. We're so proud of you." I bit my lip to keep from crying. How could I tell her the truth? How could I say, "Mom, your daughter is being owned like property"? I stayed silent. I told her I loved her. And after the call, I broke down again. Days passed. Mr. Carter's control grew stronger. He called me into his office at all hours. He made me stay late, while others went home. He asked me to sit close, too close. He whispered things no boss should ever say. Sometimes he was sweet. He brought me gifts, expensive perfume, silk scarves, jewelry. "Because you're mine," he'd say. Other times, he was cruel. If I refused to smile, he snapped. "Don't forget, I can destroy your career in one phone call." It was a game. Push and pull. Sugar and poison. And I was drowning in it. One Friday night, things reached a breaking point. He called me into his office after everyone had left. The building was silent, the halls dark. "Sit," he ordered. I sat, my heart racing. He stood behind me, his shadow long on the wall. Then he said the words that shattered me. "Anna, from now on, you answer only to me. No friends. No family. No one else matters. I own your time. I own your loyalty. I own you." I turned to him, my voice shaking but loud enough to break the silence. "You don't own me. I'm not yours." For a moment, his face froze. Then he laughed. "Low. Cold. Dangerous. Don't be foolish. You have no power here. I can ruin you in one night. Your job. your future, your family's hope, all gone. Do you want that? Tears filled my eyes. I whispered, please don't. He leaned close, his voice sharp as glass. Then remember this. You are mine. And if you forget, you will regret it. That night, I walked home shaking. My legs felt weak. The city lights blurred again as tears burned my eyes. I called Lily. When she answered, I broke down. Lily, I can't breathe. He says he owns me. He says I'm nothing without him. Her voice was steady, but I could hear her anger. Anna, listen to me. This is not love. This is not work. This is slavery. You have to fight back. I sobbed. But how? He's powerful. He can destroy me. Then let him, she said fiercely. Better to lose money than lose your soul. You're not his. You're yours. I clutched the phone, shaking. Her words were strong, but my fear was stronger. Still, something inside me stirred. A small spark. A whisper. Maybe I can fight. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror. My eyes were red from crying. My face looked tired. But deep inside, I saw that spark again. I whispered to my reflection, I am not his. I will never be his. But even as I said it, I knew the battle was not over. Because Mr. Carter was not a man who let go. He was a man who tightened his grip when you pulled away. And I felt it in my bones. The worst was still coming. The days that followed were heavy. Every step into the office felt like stepping into a cage. The air was thick with whispers. Eyes followed me, curious, judgmental, silent. Mr. Carter's control grew sharper. He checked where I was, who I spoke to, even when I went for lunch. If I talked to coworkers, his stare would burn across the room. If I laughed, he would call me to his office immediately. One afternoon, he cornered me by the elevator. He leaned close and said, Anna, I don't like sharing what's mine. Be careful who you smile at. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him I wasn't his property. But my throat locked shut. That Friday, everything changed. It started with a company party. All the employees were there. Loud music, glittering lights, champagne glasses clinking. I didn't want to go, but I couldn't say no. Mr. Carter stood tall in his black suit, greeting everyone like a king. And beside him, his eyes searched for me. When he spotted me, his smile widened. Anna, he said loudly, come here. Everyone turned. My stomach dropped. I walked to him, my legs trembling. He wrapped his arm around my shoulder. Too close. Too public. Too wrong. Look at her, he said to the crowd. She's the future of this company. She's mine. The room fell silent. Some people clapped awkwardly. Some looked away. Sarah's eyes met mine from across the room. Sad, knowing. I froze. Heat rushed through me. Not just fear. Shame. He said it out loud. In front of everyone. She's mine. When the party ended, he ordered me to stay behind. The hall grew quiet as people left. Only the echo of footsteps faded away. Come to my office, he said. It wasn't a request. I followed, my stomach twisting. Inside, he poured himself a drink. Then he turned to me, his eyes dark. You embarrassed me, he said. You didn't smile when I praised you. You didn't act like you were mine. I whispered, because I'm not yours. His glass slammed on the desk. Don't say that, he shouted. You don't understand, Anna. Everything you have is because of me. Your salary, your status, even your family's comfort. Without me, you are nothing. Tears burned my eyes. I stood shaking, but this time, something inside me broke free. I lifted my chin. I would rather be nothing than belong to you. Silence filled the room. His jaw tightened. His face turned red with rage. He stepped closer, his voice low and sharp. You will regret those words. I shook my head. No. I regret letting you control me this long. Suddenly, the door opened. It was Sarah. She had forgotten her bag and walked in without knocking. Her eyes widened when she saw us. The tension, my tears, his rage. Is everything okay? She asked carefully. Mr. Carter's smile snapped back on like a mask. Of course. Anna and I were just discussing work. But Sarah's eyes met mine, and in that look, I felt her see the truth. She nodded slightly, then said, Anna, can you help me with something outside? I grabbed the chance. Yes, I whispered, rushing out with her. In the hallway, I broke down. Sarah, I can't do this anymore. He said I belong to him. He said I'm nothing without him. She squeezed my hand. Then it's time to fight. Time to expose him. I shook my head. He's powerful. Nobody will believe me. Her voice grew firm. Then make them believe. We're not powerless if we stand together. That night, I didn't sleep. I thought of Lily's words. I thought of Sarah's courage. And I thought of my mother's voice, proud but blind to my pain. I asked myself, what do I want? Money, power, success, or freedom? I whispered to the empty room, I just want to be free. And in that moment I decided, I would no longer be silent. The next morning, I walked into the office with shaking legs but a steady heart. I went straight to HR. I told them everything. The dinners, the gifts, the threats, the words, you belong to me. They looked shocked. Some whispered, some wrote notes. One woman asked, do you have proof? My hands trembled as I opened my phone. I had saved every message he sent. Every dinner. Alone. Every, you are mine. Their eyes widened as they read. But news spreads fast. By afternoon, Mr. Carter knew. He stormed into my office, his face burning with fury. You betrayed me, he hissed. You think anyone will believe you? I built this company. I am this company. I stood, my knees shaking but my voice strong. Then fall with it, because I won't be your prisoner anymore. For a moment, I thought he would hit me. His hand twitched. His eyes blazed. But then he froze. He looked around. People had gathered outside, watching through the glass walls. Sarah stood among them. Others too. Whispers filled the hall. He realized. It was over. That night, I packed my things. I didn't know if I still had a job. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time in months, I felt free. Still, my freedom came with fear. Because men like Mr. Carter don't let go easily. And as I walked out of that building for the last time, I knew this story was not finished. Because the war between me and him had only just begun. The night I left the office with my box of belongings, the city lights looked different. Brighter somehow. But my heart was heavy. I had spoken out. I had dared to fight. But what would happen next? Would they believe me? Or would his power crush me? The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages on my phone. Some from coworkers. Some from unknown numbers. Some were supportive. You're brave. We stand with you. Others were cruel. Liar. You just want attention. I threw the phone on the bed and held my head in my hands. My chest ached. My throat was tight. Speaking out had freed me, but it had also put me in danger. 2 days later, HR called me. They said there would be an investigation. They asked me to come in and share my story again, this time officially. I went. I sat in a cold conference room with 3 strangers across the table. They asked question after question. When did this start? Why didn't you report earlier? Did you ever encourage him? That last question stabbed me. Encourage him? Did they think I wanted this? Tears filled my eyes. I whispered, I never asked for this. I just wanted to work. They nodded, writing notes, but I could not read their faces. Did they believe me? Or not? Meanwhile, Mr. Carter moved like nothing had happened. He still walked the halls, tall and proud. He still smiled that sharp smile. But now, when his eyes met mine, they burned with quiet rage. One afternoon, he passed my desk and whispered, You think you won? You'll regret this. I froze. Fear washed over me again. But then Sarah walked by and gave me a small nod. Support. A reminder. I was not alone. At home, I called Lily again. Lily, I said, my voice shaking, I don't know if I can keep fighting. He's too powerful. What if they protect him? Her voice was calm, but strong. Anna, even if they protect him, you already won. You broke his chain. You showed the truth. That's power. I wiped my tears. Then why do I still feel so weak? Because healing takes time, she said softly. You fought a war inside your soul. Give yourself grace. Her words wrapped around me like a blanket. For the first time, I allowed myself to breathe. Weeks passed. The investigation continued. People talked in whispers whenever I walked by. But something was changing. Other women began to come forward. One by one, they spoke to HR. They shared their own stories. Dinners, gifts, threats. I wasn't the first. I wasn't the only one. And now, I wasn't alone. Sarah hugged me in the hallway one evening. Because of you, Anna, others are speaking. You gave them courage. Tears filled my eyes. Maybe this fight wasn't only mine. Maybe it was bigger than me. But Mr. Carter didn't fall quietly. He used his power to fight back. Rumors spread about me. That I was greedy. That I was lying. That I was just another ambitious girl who wanted attention. I felt the weight of every whisper, every stare, every cruel laugh behind my back. At night, I lay awake, asking myself, did I do the right thing? Should I have stayed silent? But deep inside, a voice whispered back, no. Silence is what he wanted. And silence is what breaks people. Finally, the company announced its decision. A meeting was called. All employees gathered. My chest tightened as I walked in, standing at the back of the room. The HR head spoke firmly. After weeks of investigation, we have confirmed multiple violations by Mr. Carter. Effective immediately, he is removed from his position. Gasps filled the room. Some whispered. Some looked shocked. Some clapped quietly. I stood frozen, tears blurring my vision. It was real. It was over. Mr. Carter's face turned pale. For the first time, his mask cracked. He looked around, desperate, but no one stood by him. Not anymore. As security led him out, his eyes met mine one last time. Cold, burning, but powerless. After the meeting, people came to me. Some said, thank you. Some said, you're brave. But I just nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. That night, when I returned home, I collapsed on my bed. I cried. Not from fear this time, but from relief. I was free, yet freedom came with emptiness. The job was not the same. The office walls carried memories I didn't want to relive. So, a week later, I resigned. I packed my things quietly. Sarah hugged me tight. You saved many of us, Anna. Don't forget that. I smiled through tears. But I need to save myself too. I went back home for a while. Back to the small town. Back to my parents' arms. Back to my brother's laughter. When my mother saw me, she held my face in her hands and whispered, "You look tired, my child, but stronger too." And for the first time, I believed her. Still, at night, memories returned. His voice, his eyes, his words, "You belong to me." But then I remembered my own words. "I would rather be nothing than belong to you." And those words gave me strength. I didn't know where my path would go next. A new job? A new city? I wasn't sure. But I knew this. I would never let anyone own me again. It has been months since I left that company. And yet, his shadow sometimes lingers in my mind. The fear, the shame, the anger, it still echoes in my chest. But something else echoes louder now. My courage. My voice. The part of me that refused to be silent. I remember the first morning I woke up after resigning. The sun streamed through my window. For the first time in years, I didn't feel dread about going to work. Instead, I sat with my coffee and asked myself, who am I without fear? That question changed everything. I started writing again. Not in secret journals, not hidden under my bed, but in the open. I poured my pain into words. I wrote about power. I wrote about silence. I wrote about women like me who are forced to choose between dignity and survival. At first, I was terrified to share. But when I finally published my story online, something happened. Messages poured in. From strangers. From women. From men. They all said the same thing. Your story is my story. I realized then, I wasn't just telling my story. I was telling our story. Healing is not a straight line. Some days, I still wake up with the weight of his words pressing against my chest. But now, instead of drowning in them, I breathe. I whisper to myself, you are free. You belong to no one but yourself. And slowly, the fear fades. One evening, I stood in front of the mirror. For so long, I had avoided my reflection. Because when I looked, I saw weakness. Shame. A girl who was used. But that night, I saw something different. A woman. With tired eyes, yes. But also with unbroken spirit. I touched the mirror and whispered, you survived. And that word, survived, burned like fire in my chest. Sometimes people ask me, Anna, do you regret speaking out? Do you regret leaving your job? My answer is always the same. I regret staying silent for so long. Because silence is poison. It kills slowly from the inside. It makes you forget who you are. The day I spoke out was the day I began to live again. I've learned that people like Mr. Carter exist everywhere. Men or women who think power gives them the right to own others, to crush spirits, to take what isn't theirs. But I've also learned something else. Their power only lasts as long as our silence. When we speak, when we rise, when we refuse to be owned, their kingdom falls. And to you, the one listening right now, maybe you're where I once was. Maybe you feel trapped, afraid, ashamed. Maybe someone is telling you that you belong to them, that without them you are nothing. If that's you, listen carefully. They are lying. You are not theirs. You are not nothing. You are everything. And the day you speak, the day you choose yourself over fear, that day you will feel the chains break. I don't know where my journey will lead next. Maybe I'll build a new career. Maybe I'll keep writing. Maybe I'll help others find their voice. But I do know this. I will never again apologize for existing. I will never again trade my dignity for a paycheck. And I will never again let anyone own me. When I think back to his words, "You belong to me," I smile now, because I know the truth. I belong to no one. I belong to myself. And that is my story, not of weakness, not of shame, but of survival, of freedom, of reclaiming the power that was always mine. So if you ever feel like you are trapped in someone else's cage, remember my words. You are not theirs. You are your own.